Hey everybody, welcome to the 8th episode of the saga known as Tour Watopia. Uh, Today we are going to cover Stage 8, but before we do so, I wanted to cover the elephant in the room. So at the end of my stage on Monday, I believe it was, where I raced at 1 a.m., I got off my bike and I unplugged and enjoyed a normal day. I haven't really left my house since this event started. I work from home and I race at lunch, so I spend my evenings recovering and then rinse and repeat. So I unplugged. I had the opportunity to have an amazing night. I got to see my first ever hockey game here in Toronto. I know I'm not very Canadian. I don't watch hockey, but that's because I'm a cycling sicko. So I come home, and as a result of the weird sleeping schedule, I double check to see where I am in the standings, because it takes them some time to basically process everything. And I start seeing this chatter that there are some riders out there and they're being accused of self-selecting the wrong category, and they're cheating, or they're being treated like a cheater because they're being given a penalty of 5% of their total time. I don't think anything of it. I know I had a good day, but I'm pretty sure I was all within the realms, because I've been gauging everything the entire week long. And I had come into the event a couple of days before, assessing my fitness, and then we reassessed it again on stage 1. So I knew, yeah, everything was good. And then I went and I browsed to the results section, and I go and I look up where I'm at now, expecting to see that I've moved up after such a good performance. And my time gap is now at 8 minutes and something. I've been dropped down out of the top 10, out of the top 15, and clearly I've been penalized. I have a whole separate video. I've appealed to the race control. I'm trying to figure out how do they expect anybody to win an event if they're never allowing them to compete at the very front of a race. So the grace is 0.1 for normal riders and 0.2 for light riders. And that is above what the category is listed as. So mine was 3.5 to 3.8. So as a light rider, I can go up to 4.0. What I didn't know is they use the weight from my very first day. And I've lost weight, and I've updated myself every day. So they either have to apply my first day weight to my event and apply it to my watts per kilo on the stage, and not my updated weight. And this is what I've asked of them, because otherwise I'm being penalized for having been diligent and having updated my weight for each stage, to be fair. Let's not dwell on that, but it is a factor today, obviously. My mind was definitely no longer in this race. I was crushed. Like, to be accused of being a cheater, then to put out a video appeal, because I did a video because I'm learning how to do videos, so I figured, why not? And having people mock me without ever having watched any of these videos, I'm sure, and just judging me in a flash, and it seems as though I'm being treated as though like I'm a cheater, like I lied, I wasn't allowed to have an amazing day on the bike. I had to hold myself back. On that day, I had to say, oh, this performance that is really coming out of me and coming out of nowhere, well, I should have been able to predict that. And I also should have known that the weight that I came in with is the one they're going to assess me as the penalty, but then my watts per kilo, they're going to go off of what was actually my reduced weight. So, needless to say, I'm not happy. But I got on the bike and I basically tuned everything out for a little bit and told myself, let's get into this stage and utilize the anger and the disappointment and all of the negative emotions to give my best on this day, knowing that I'm not going to do anything even close to what I would have done before. I couldn't even sleep last night. So here we go. This is today's stage. It's called Shorelines and Summits. It's basically a loop around the mountain. We do 4 sprint segments. And then once that's all done, we head up the Epic KOM, and it becomes who can climb the fastest. And they threw in the radio tower, which I've mentioned in the previous videos, which is the most savage 1.1 kilometers in the game. So I'll show you what this looks like. We have a profile like this. So you can see, if we do it from the top view here, you'll see it's basically all flat until it gets to the climb, and then everybody kind of has to do their own effort. If I recalled correctly, in my brain, I was like, oh, this is about a 27 to 30 minute effort. So I was feeling good about being able to do that kind of effort, but I was so emotional in this stage. I made a ton of mistakes, and I can't afford to make mistakes and expect to get a good result. So let's go back and get into the action. I'm going to have to refocus. Suck it up, Buttercup, I guess. I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction, so I'm going to just calm down, calmly approach this. I've stopped reading everything at the moment to just get through this video, and then I'll deal with this head-on afterwards. I decided to go with the black and red again today, and I went with the kind of all-round balanced wheel in the DT62, knowing that we're going into that Alp, and I just have to hang on during the 4 sprints. But I was angry. I was really angry. So again, my emotions took over. I just was like, you know what? I'm a ghost pepper? Okay. Let's prove that theory. So I attacked off the front immediately. I said to myself, gap. Let's let them work. I'll just let my legs do the talking today. But legs without your mind isn't going to get you anywhere. So I attack off the front. I get a couple seconds, but I know I'm not staying off the front. Even if I have this 1 hour power, it's not enough to stay in front of a pack. So what's the use of it? How's it any good to me if I can't use it? So here we go. I'm still angry, so I'm pushing. I knew the gravel was coming, so I said I'll just let them catch me in here, and I'll start surfing the wheels because I've already looked at my heart rate. It's already at 167. I'm not going to be able to maintain that and respond to the attacks and the segments and the undulations that I'm going to be subjected to in the pack. So just trying to stay, again, top 100. Once I slip below that, I try to put in a little dig and get myself back up. At this point, my towel fell, and so now I don't have anything to wipe my eyebrows or my face or whatever with while I'm racing. Mildly annoying, but we've dealt with worse this week. So just, again, staying here at the front, trying to keep myself out of trouble and follow the course and the cheat sheet as best I can. So I see there, though, that they say 20 up front, so I'm thinking like, oh, maybe we have a breakaway group here. So that gets my attention, and I just say, okay, well, if this pack is breaking off, let's stay with them. So I'm in the wheels, the dust is coming through, and again today I didn't change the angles all that much, I apologize. So we're going through this section, and I'll bring up here now the cheat sheet so we can see kind of what is being featured today. So first we've got the jungle section, and we're into that now. And we'll get into the a dirt riser, there's a punch that was the one up the bridge that we've already seen, and the first sprint is coming up at 7.7, and then we have a second sprint at 10.2, third sprint at 16, and then the last one at 20. So basically 4 sprints within 13 kilometers. So I know I have to just hang on for dear life so I can be in the group as we approach the bottom of the climb. So we're just getting through that first descent and we're coming into the rollers. So this will be till the sprint, and this sprint will be 400 meters. And it is a slight false flat, 0.42% incline. So that's a challenging one. It's not only long, it's uphill a little bit. So again, just stay at the front, keep myself in those wheels. I've calmed down now, and I've said the real way to get any sort of satisfaction today is to actually overcome this, to actually keep my mind straight, and just to execute my race. So now another thing to mention is my weight has dropped coming into this race by another 0.2 kg. So it's going to be even harder going through all these sprints. Everyone's taken off. We hit that stoneway section, so it saps the legs a little bit. Yay, cool tone gloves. Leveled up for me. But I come through and I'm right at the back, 100 like I wanted to be, because today there's 225 on the stage. It's a pretty large group, or a little bit larger than the last few have been. We've gone through that sprint. We've got some cobbles until basically the next sprint. So it's not like this is easy street. We've got to push. We got to go up and down the power scale just to stay with the group. And I see it's starting to string out. I'm wondering, is there a team doing a lead out? Because there's sprinters here that are really trying to win that green jersey, making this as rich as they can coming into the sprint so their sprinter can unleash his maximum power. 9.3, we got about 500 meters before the next one starts. Now this second one, the Acropolis sprint, it's a negative incline. So it's negative 1.1. I'm able to just stay with everybody and then time it so that I'm coming just up to the front right when we hit the marker, which that's something I haven't noticed either in any of the other videos. You'll notice on the right side here, there's a green marker and a line. That indicates the beginning of the segment. Everything's going crazy. I stay seated like usual until I start to see that last row pull away, and then I stand up and I give it a little bit more and I push through the line as well so I can stay on with that pack. This time I see I'm coming through 25 places up, around 75 instead of 100, but I mean quickly you're right back to 100. As usual, pushing a little bit harder than I should in the pack, but doing what I can, seeing that this is strung out in the front. And we've got 5k to go in between the last sprint and the next one, and it's mostly rollers, mostly just either -1, 0, or 1, which I just consider normal. This next roller section comes at 14.3. I'm resisting typing and being a part of the chatter for the stage because now I feel like I'm some sort of outcast. I've been branded a cheater, which, yeah, doesn't feel good. So I keep everything to myself. I bottle it up and I just keep pedaling away. I'm definitely up in the 150s already in my heart rate, but at least it's come down from that initial emotional surge where I was almost up at my max. We're rolling out along the coast and going around that loop that we did on one of the other stages, but instead of looping back and doing an out and back, we're going to take a right-hand turn, and after that right-hand turn there's a little riser. It's a selection point that often riders will attack on. We get to take in this village for the last time, and we're looking ahead to where we're going. We're going to the mountains. You know, now I'm started to think about the shifting technique that I was using in the last couple stages, and just really focusing in on that, keeping myself right in the pack, safe and ready to respond. So we have this nice little section here. Reminds me of the beginning of Quantum of Solace, where James Bond is in a car chase going through this mountain tunnel that's on the side like this. For the stage is I did decide again to take caffeine today. Not as much as I had been taking. I took a half dosage, and then I add a half dosage to my bottle. And the bottle today was 750 milliliters. I wasn't sure if we were going to go time-wise over an hour and 15 or not, so I just wanted to have a little bit of extra nutrition on board. Here's that that third sprint, and this one was a slight false flat 2, but I'm good. I'm up in the front. Now I'm top 50. So each round, as the race goes through, I'm jumping 25 spots, which is pretty good. It's right on with a good strategy for the day. I left a message on the Discord last night that I have faith that race control will handle the situation properly, and in the end, I will get my proper result. We just finished that sprint. There's a couple of bridge sections here, and then we're going to be going into the woodland sprint at 20.6. So there's a little riser at 17.8 here, and we'll go through that, and then basically now rolling through to the woodland sprint, which is another negative incline sprint, and thank God, because this is a 500 meter one. So I work my way to the front, I shift down, I get to the front, I see them passing me, I shift up. We can see that's reflected in the wattage that I put out. I know that sprint is now less than a kilometer away, so trying to, before 0.2 to go, so 20.4, I'm thinking let's stay around 40 or 50 and try that sneaky little surge again to get to the front exactly when the line starts, and then use that momentum in the pack for the first half, 250 meters, and then in the second half stand up if I need to and stay with the pack. If there's going to be a breakaway, I believe this is where it will happen today. And I'm sure people thought that maybe I was breaking away. But nope, no such luck. I don't have any sprint watts. So relegated to thinking to myself, I've been improving by 25 each time. Can you stay in that top? I mean, ideally I wanted to improve to 25th, but that's a dream, a pipe dream. So we're through that, and now we have some rollers from 21.3 until 24.9. So 3.6K. This is basically just ups and downs, very slight changes in the elevation. Now everyone's going to settle down and get ready mentally, I assume, for the climb. I can see a little gap though, and I can see it stringing out. So I stay right there. I do whatever it takes to get there and on the back. But when I get on the back of here, I can see that it's still strung out. It's still getting away. It's still going away. So again, another dig just to get myself in the wheels of that front pack. And again, I see a fire. I see a flame. There's my flame. I respond with one of my own, because that tells me that something's breaking up here. Something's going on. So again, I'm employing the tactic of better safe than sorry at this point, knowing that I should be in the top 50, and I should be with the guys at the front of this race. I see that the pack was kind of splitting, and this was the number one rider here. I saw him, so I was like, oh, let's keep him in our sights today, because if I can perform like he does, then I give myself a really good chance here. So the pack starts pushing a little bit once it comes together, breathing heavily at this point. You can see my heart rate is in the 159s, so I'm not far off of threshold, and having to hold threshold in the pack. So usually you're at least able to get a little bit of respite when you're in the wheels, but people were really, for some reason, I thought it was going to be more calm, but people were really trying to do something up front. Maybe they were thinking going into this little riser, if they break away, that'll make a big enough gap to split this group. And that's why I start to respond. So here it is, in the desert, but only for a moment. We've had enough of the desert for this tour, apparently. So work my way up, give it a push, and put myself in the second little pack here, knowing that there's a little break, and then I'll push again into that that second section. So that here it comes, and you can see again my wattage goes up, and I just latch on to the back of these guys. That's the whole goal here. Latch on, let them pull you along, and even though you're doing like basically over-unders, you can repeat them. You've proven you can repeat them. You don't have the 5-minute or 10-minute power of some of these people, but you have the 1-hour power and the 20-minute power. So I got to play my cards. We're quickly approaching the climb. The climb today is going to start at 28K. It is the Epic KOM, which was one of the very first big climbs in the game. And we're going to go up to the top of that. And then there's an uncategorized radio tower bonus, quote unquote, which is another 1.1K. And as I mentioned earlier, it is the steepest and most savage part of this entire game. So amazing that that's how we're ending this tour. Kudos to FRR for designing it like that. Bottom slopes, I'm telling myself, get yourself to the front, set your pace, do what you did the other day on the other climb. Keep your eye on the people around you, but I'll be honest, doubt is finding its way in. The voice that's saying, why bother? What's the point? You know, it starts getting a little bit more volume and a little bit more attention in my head than the other voice that's telling me push and everything's going to turn out. Things are going to correct themselves. I know the first section is about 600 and it's got a maximum gradient of 10, which is coming right here. So again, I'm on the inside, I notice, so I push, get up out of the saddle, and then I have to sit down, and then I get up again because I had to push. And I've got like a really good rhythm going. This is the first year I've added these motion rollers to my trainer. So what it is it's this little add-on to my Tax Neo, which gives it a little bit of forward and back motion. And then in the Neo already, it already has a little bit of the side-to-side motion. So it allowed me to get like a really nice standing position where I felt a rhythm like I was dancing on the pedals, Alberto Contador style. Here we are into that flat section, or a little plateau section. I guess it's like just lesser gradients. On the sheet, what I put there as a note is the section is 2 to 3% lower, and the maximum gradient is about 4% lower. So I end up working my way to the front, and you can see I'm just kind of doing the power that I set out for myself most days, 250 to 260, and I'm just kind of staying there. And at this point I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm gonna get to ride away from these guys. And that little bit of positivity helped drown out that other voice. So I remember this pink rider from the Innsbruck stage, or Innsbruck stage. I think I've been mispronouncing that. And I know that they put time into me. So I'm like, oh, let's fade a little bit behind these people and catch draft. We're over 16K an hour, so I can get a little bit of a draft. But I let it go a little bit too much, and you can see a rush of people come over me. When you're on an incline and you let up a bit, your speed dips drastically. But I know I can get back on. And I just saw the rider from stage 7 right here. This is the one that we took 28 seconds out of on the time trial. I saw that, I believe he was in 6th. I know he and I paced well together the other night, but for that split second, these guys got away, and the race got away. I let up, and I just, again, now that other voice is taking over, and I'm telling myself, well, don't kill yourself, stay within reach, lose a couple seconds, what's it gonna matter in the end? Keep pacing on this rider, he's my new goal. The pink rider is totally gone, and I'm not expecting to take them back, at least not until maybe later on in the climb. I'm usually good at getting a second wind, and there's a plateau coming up here at 32K. So I'm just telling myself for another kilometer push, get yourself to that plateau. It's short, but it's cobbles. So when we get there, don't dip your power. Keep it in that 255 to 260 range as best you can, and stop dropping below 240. You'll notice I've dropped below 240 a few times, and that's just sucking the speed out of me. And at this point, I have no draft. We're about 700 meters from the cobble section. I tell myself if I can put in a little dig here and bring these people back to get myself back in the wheels for when we resume the climb at 32.3. So I got 500 meters. It's about, it's probably under a minute here of an effort. Again, not my strength at all, but if I do a burst and then get into threshold and then do a burst and then get into threshold, maybe I'll be able to get them back. And the goal is to stay on those wheels. I noticed a couple other names today as well, as for the riders that were in and around me in the top 10. So again, pushing, easing up, pushing, easing up, just trying to get on the back. I know that respite is coming, and they might not take any respite, but at least I'm not going to have to respond again. I'm not going to have to push much over my threshold. Like, as you can see, I'm trying to push, but just hitting that magic number 260, 265, or 255 to 265. And then sitting in this wheel for a little bit, but two other riders are getting up the road. There's this little max pitch coming here. I knew that it was going to get up to about 7% here for the next 250 meters, and then there was another little plateau. So at this point, it's kind of a game of climb, plateau, right up until we get to about 35 kilometers. Now there is one long section at the end of that. At 33.2, we'll start a 1.3 kilometer section, which is a bit steeper, 5 to 6%, and the max gradient in that one is 9. So switched over to the first person view. I'm seeing the wheels leave. I see 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 9, and then 10s, and that front group is 30 seconds ahead. Bye-bye. Now I'm just trying to get with this pack. I can see there's enough riders that when we get to a certain section, I can maybe utilize a couple of bursts and get an advantage and get around them and make up some places all at once. But then these two riders come around, and these are two of the names that I recognize. Now using him to pace, just saying to myself, he's 1 second up. Let's see if he can just gradually bring that second back, get on his wheel, use a draft. And at this point, I'm like, why don't I just try my best to sit in with these guys? Let's just give up on the front of the race. There's no point. And just sit in, catch a draft, and then explode when I have a moment where I can take advantage of my strengths. So now there's two wheels. I'm telling myself an even better draft. And if I can catch this third wheel, again, even better. So, but that allows me mentally to ease up. And I shouldn't ease up when these people come past me. That's a mistake that I made. So I surge again. I see this rider up ahead in the green and the blue there. Seems like he's pacing well. I'm kind of telling myself, start pacing it at your own pace when you get back into this group. Don't start looking at if you're drafting or not drafting, or if your speed is over 16. Just get in that group and do your best to stay with them all. You can't always do what you want. You can't always do what you plan. And the group starts stringing out. It starts breaking up. So we hit this bridge. I put in my effort, my dig, to get above threshold there. And I'm still just off the back of this group. But we got a little punch here. I'm looking at my sheet and it says at 35, I've got a 250 meter riser. So again, I get up, I get that good rhythm, I push, I sit down, I try to continue to do threshold, get up again, push a little bit more, and then this group just starts going. Once descents are in the mix. Look at how fast they just move away. Nothing you can do. So now it's damage control, and I'm telling myself, radio tower. Revenge comes during the radio tower. So keep them within that 10 seconds and bet on myself. Now, not sure that it's going to pan out, but I'm going to do it anyways. It's my only tactic at the moment. And I see the rider behind me is about a 13-second gap. So securing Michael Jordan 23 here, not bad considering everything that's happening. So I eased up after the punch, knowing that there was just a little bit here, but basically from 36.4 on, this is the end portion of the KOM. Not the radio tower, that's still to come, but to finish the Epic KOM, this is the last little segment. So again, I dig in, I try to do my best power. It's fluctuating up and down. I'm looking behind me, that gentleman has dropped the gap from 14 seconds down to 6, and he's closing fast, and I just try to respond as best as I can. But again, I'm going to bank that on the radio tower, I'm going to be able to go past this rider. So this ghost pepper rider passes me, then comes through that rider who is behind me. Starting now to lose spots, and in my head I'm telling myself, why did you go out so hard? You burned a couple matches you need right now. And just dealing with the reality of that and sitting in and doing my 100% effort here. This is 10 out of 10. Sprinting to the stage, thinking maybe I can get a couple more KOM points, salvage something maybe I haven't looked where I'm at in the polka dot jersey, but give it my all since that's the last segment. And you can see the group got ahead of me a little bit, so they're all easing up because they all know this is coming, and myself included. And once I hit that descent, I gear up and I start, and this is it. I'm telling myself there's 1.0 kilometers to go. This is about 4 to 5 minutes maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't fully time it, but in my head that's what I'm saying. 4 to 5 minutes. This is a 4 to 5 minute effort. You can do like everything, and at the top it's game over. There's no more need for my legs to work for the next 24 hours or 36 or 48. So I start digging and I take a spot back, and then I'm looking up and I'm counting as best I can how many riders I see in that string and how many of them can I bring back. So I get up, I'm getting my rhythm, I'm standing, I'm sitting, I'm standing, I'm sitting. Again, this is one of those times where, you know, my nose is dripping, I'm struggling for air, I can't drink for the life of me, and I know this part right here is the steepest. Gear down, I'm on the inside, I'm up out of the saddle, and when I do that, all I've got to give is about 300 watts. I can't get into the 310s, I can't get into the 330s. I reached 314 there for a second. 14% just grinding, and 13%, and it looks like that most of this climb. And I can see the riders ahead of me and key off of them. So there's another little steep segment here, and I'm telling myself, out of the saddle, buddy. Get yourself back into this group. Look at how many of them there are there, ripe for the taking. So really pushing myself now. My heart rate is coming up. I'm into the 167, so I'm definitely over threshold. Definitely feel like my heart is in my throat, or at least making its way up my throat. And I'm seeing there's only 200 meters now all of a sudden. And 1, 2, 3, I just say, come on, you can get these 3. These next 3 are yours, and you can improve yourself up to 20th. At least make a decent appearance out of this. So I get pushing, and obviously I can't just sustain the power I want to just pass people. Nobody's just going to let you pass them. But I get past this person in the looks like watermelon jersey, and the gap to these others is kind of far away, and I see an attack, but with 75 meters to go, I'm reminded of the pink rider with the fox ears or elf ears, whatever you want to call him, and I pass them right into the line. And I ride myself into 21st place, 2 minutes and 19 seconds back. No idea how that happened, but that's the end of the stage. That's the end of the tour, but not the end of the drama. So I'm on standby for a review. I'm just unwilling to accept the decision. I want to be heard. I want to be treated fairly, and you can't expect somebody to be monitoring their average watts per kilo throughout a time trial to make sure that they don't go an extra 2 watts. You put somebody on a time trial course to see what they're made out of, and on that day, that's what I was made out of. And today, I couldn't get anywhere near it. You could see that. So, end of the tour. I'm not going to look at results. I'm going to get to work on my summary video, so tune in for that. And all I can do from now is thank everybody for joining me along this journey, and everybody in the race who was so supportive and grateful of the tools that I created and the benefits that they brought. Until next time, guys, peace.